Doris Burke reported that at the beginning of the game, Game 5, that the advice had been that the worst that could happen realistically was that he would re-injure the calf, but nothing as catastrophic from an injury standpoint as this turned out to be. So, Jay Will, obviously you were there.
Yep.
You know Kevin Durant as well as anybody in the media does. What is your big picture take?
Ultimately, I think this falls on the Golden State Warriors. He got misdiagnosed. And I know for a fact that he was told that with a torn calf, a partial torn calf, that it unloaded the pressure on the Achilles and that there was no chance that the Achilles could be injured at all. And for that to happen in the first half of a ball game, I think I can't even fathom that, because watching I got ignited. I got pissed off because that's what you came into the game thinking was going to happen. Number two, from a public relations perspective, I think the way the Warriors have handled this whole thing has been horrific. Their camp knew that they weren't going to play until Game 5, Game 6. It was set from the beginning. The Warriors didn't come out and say that. They said potentially even during the Portland series, hey, he could come back. Game 1, he could come back. Game 2, he could come back. Joe Legup's going on Stephen A. Smith's show, Greeny, and saying he will be back. I think all of that gives subliminal pressure to a player who we all know wants to compete at the highest level. Now, if you really have his best interests at hand, if you really want this guy to be around for the next 4 to 5 years, you say, you're not playing this game. We're thinking long-term instead of short-term. But when it seeps into your mind that you think he could leave, all of a sudden, we have to get it right now. And I don't care what anybody says, that plays into your psyche a little bit when you think this guy is going to leave and you want to make sure that you get a three-peat. Because for a team, it's about winning right now if you're not going to have that option next year.
Now, Karan, you played with Kevin. You're also very close to Kevin. What are your thoughts as we watch all of this happen, especially what Jay just said?
I don't think he checked all the boxes, and I think he was misinformed. And when you have that type of information that's thrown at you, you think that you can go out there on that platform and be the best possible version of yourself. And Doris Burke reported it extremely well. And I think Jalen Rose touched on it also on this show, where he said with his eye test, Kevin Durant did not look like he was ready to go out in the NBA Finals and perform at a high level. And our biggest fear became the biggest nightmare for a lot of us that's extremely close to him, that love him as a human being. And, that's what it was. He got injured.
So Klay Thompson got injured, and we talk about this all the time.
They policed him.
Exactly. And if we're competitive, sometimes we want to go out there and compete against the best. We don't care how injured we are. But it's the team's job to actually protect you from yourself, right? So they protected Klay. And I don't see anybody talking about Kevon Looney today. Like, Kevon Looney's in his contract year. I know it's not the same amount of money that Kevin Durant's going to make, but Kevon Looney rushed back from injury, then got re-injured again. And now we're talking about him trying to come back. How could this affect his free agency as well? Like, these are all questions for all these guys that are lingering now.
It's such a complicated conversation.
I agree.
We also laud the athlete who comes back and plays through the pain and plays through the injury and sacrifices whatever he or she may sacrifice in the interest of winning a championship. When the result is arguably the best player in the world having the worst injury you can possibly have, it changes the dynamic of the conversation.
It really does, and that was the hero moment that everybody wanted, and that was the headline in the story, but ultimately it did not work out in his favor. And I can just think back to 2011 when Raymond Brothers and the Dallas Mavericks elected to protect me from myself and not allow me to go on that platform and re-injure myself.
Yeah.
And that's when all the narratives run away, Greeny. That's when people say, well, he's selfish, he's only thinking about himself, he's thinking about free agency, he's not thinking about his team. Like, if you're Kevin Durant, you're sitting back, you know he takes all that stuff in. He feels that. It's just unfortunate all the way around, man.
Yeah, it is
all the way around.
It is a perfect storm of terrible circumstances in the sport.